On everyone. So it's obviously been quite a while since my last video, and even longer since my last Metal Gear related video. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I have some stuff going on IRL. I've been interested in playing other games. I'm just doing other things, talking about other things. Not to mention, there hasn't been too many things, too much news coming from Konami in regard to Metal Gear up until last week. Obviously, we all know now Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is being remade into Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, which is very exciting. And I was actually working on a video covering that in regard to that before making this video. And the reason why this video is coming out first is because it entails something that is very near and dear to my heart. An aspect, portion of these games that are just as important to me as the mainline, story, as the mainline series. And as you can guess from the title, it obviously has something to do with Metal Gear Online, or just an online component for Metal Gear Solid Delta in general. So, without further ado, I'm going to get into it, the meat of this video. But before I do that, I do want to say shout out to Lord Emmerich on Twitter. Apologies if anybody else covered this first, but he was the first one that I saw cover this. And I saw his little snippets about this article from IGN Japan. So shout out to him. If you don't follow him yet on Twitter, make sure you do. He's got a lot of interesting facts and lesser known things about the series. He's always up on the latest news. So make sure you do follow him. And thanks to him for kind of, showing me this, for putting it on my feed, essentially. So what this is like I mentioned, it's an article from IGN Japan, right? And I did see after the fact that IGN in general as an outlet did interview a representative from Konami. I don't know who, but it's kind of interesting that what we're going to focus on in this video isn't mentioned in the English version of this interview. And I don't know why that is, but essentially this interview is very similar to the English one. People, the IGN representative asked the Konami representative different things, different questions that they had, like, is Kojima, are Kojima and Shinkawa involved? Which the answer is obviously no. If you still think that, don't know what to tell you. Stuff like that, little interesting things about the voice actors and who's reprising what role and all that good stuff. A little blurb about the Metal Gear Solid Volume 1 Master Collection, that are obviously MGS 1, 2, and 3. That should be coming later this year to PS5 and all the modern consoles, hopefully. So that's very exciting news. But what I want to focus on here, what's the most exciting to me, is right under this picture of the Master Collection, and you should be seeing it on stream or on the video as I speak about it, is this section here. So it says, the remake version will be released on the latest hardware, but will the hardware's latest features be utilized? And this is the IGN Japan spokesperson speaking. As for whether the latest hardware features such as 3D audio and haptic feedback will be used, he said, please wait for future announcements. And that was obviously a quote by the Konami representative. And it goes on to say, although it is unknown what will actually happen, Konami replied, again, please wait for future announcements for multiplayer and online functions as well. So that is very exciting. And that could just be, absolutely nothing. And my hopes and dreams for this series and for Metal Gear Online just kind of, projecting themselves onto this little one-line quote. But this leads me to believe, and probably other people that are fans of Metal Gear Online and have played Metal Gear Online, to believe that they're working on some sort of competitive multiplayer like Metal Gear Online. What that is exactly, again, we don't have a confirmation. They've told us to wait for future announcements. But I see this as one of two possibilities if they are remaking MGO, and that's the first possibility, is a remake of Metal Gear Online 1. So for those that don't know, Metal Gear Solid 3 released, right, the initial release, and then they released a special version of it, Subsistence, and that included a whole bunch of stuff, but most notably Metal Gear Online, or Metal Gear Online 1 as it's known now, which was a multiplayer, competitive multiplayer kind of add-on to the single-player game. It was one of the first games to utilize PS2's like online features, where you'd have that giant pack behind your PS2 that you could actually connect, you know, your dial-up at the time connection and play with other people. It was a competitive, and I'm sure I'll throw up some video behind me so you guys could check it out. But yeah, it was essentially a competitive multiplayer experience for Metal Gear Solid 3, and it's you know, people love it to this day. I love playing it. I played it maybe a handful of times. I did not play it anywhere near as much as I played MGO2, but I did play it. I did experience it when it was still, you know, the actual servers were still online, because you can play it now. There are community, you know, servers and private servers you can play on, and we'll talk about that in another video. But yeah, it's very exciting. So that's the first option that I see for what this could be, right? And it would be the one that makes the most sense. I guess before I get into the next one, there is kind of like another option, I guess you could say, which I don't think they do, because it'd be very jarring, especially for newer players. But they could just repackage or I guess, you know, resurrect the original MGO1 servers and just package in the original MGO1 that was part of Subsistence into Metal Gear Solid Delta. I don't think they would do that, because going from, you know, some of the most cutting edge, highly graphical fidelity games of all time, or at least right now, because the game looks really good, and I know that's not I know that the footage that they showed for Metal Gear Solid Delta isn't actual gameplay, but games in general right now look amazing. I mean, compare that to something that came out like Snake Eater in 2004. You know, it's insane how much graphics have improved. But I don't think they'd package something like that with a new game. You know what I mean? It'd be very jarring going back to, even for me, that I can play those games with my eyes closed at this point. Going from, you know, a game where they're obviously going to change the control layout and scheme, right? I don't think they're going to expect new players to play through Delta. I mean, they could, but it'd be kind of weird to expect players to play through Delta with old school controls where you hold square to lock on and shoot, and then hold R1 to first person view and all that. Like it works for me, because I've played those games so much that it just works. I can always go back to Metal Gear Solid 1 and play it no problem, right? But for someone who's new to the series, maybe someone who hasn't played Snake Eater since Snake Eater released, or, you know, doesn't regularly go back and play the games, I can't see them doing that, since they are more than likely updating the controls. So I don't think that option's very, like, you know, it shouldn't be on the table in my eyes. What's more likely to me is that if it's not MGO1 remade with new controls, new environments, the touched up maps and all that, then the other option is just a whole new Metal Gear Online in general. Whether that's they name it Metal Gear Online 4, or they name it, you know, I don't know, just Metal Gear Online. They just hard reset, hard reboot. I do think that's more likely, those two options. So they're either making MGO1 again, or they're doing a completely new Metal Gear Online. And I'm down for both. Like I said, I played Metal Gear Online when it released a handful of times. I really enjoyed it. I've played it recently, like last year I believe it was. I installed the private server and I played it on there, and it was fun. I played with a couple of friends. It's a good time. It doesn't compare to MGO2. That's just my personal opinion. I love MGO2. That's always going to be like my baby, essentially. Like that is top 3 for me multiplayer experiences of all time. And unless MGO4, unless they make a new MGO and it's just amazing in every aspect, I think MGO2 is always going to be my favorite. But I mean, that's not to say that I wouldn't be excited about a completely new MGO. And it makes sense, right? There's this remake of one of the most beloved games of all time, not even just of the series, of all time. It's being remade. There's a lot of hype behind it. Remakes and remasters and touch-ups are all the rage right now in the video game industry. So it makes sense to, you know, make a new multiplayer component to it that you can monetize. You can add a battle pass, which is disgusting to say, but let's be honest, that's the way that the industry has moved. And if they do that, they're just following industry trends. And that's not to say that I agree with it, but anyway, I think it makes sense. Metal Gear Online 4 or Metal Gear Online, just a reboot of the series, of the online series. They make, if you think about it, there's a hole in the market for this right now. When you think about a multiplayer now in 2023, what do you think about? You think about a battle royale, free to play, battle pass driven, experience. So you think Apex, you think something like, I don't know. I mostly think of Apex. I mostly think of like looter shooters like Destiny, games as a service, as they call them, right? That's the word I was looking for. There hasn't really been a sort of like boots to the ground, old school 5v5, 6v6, one team against the other in a contained map, not a shrinking map or not like, a huge open world map. But there hasn't been anything like that where it's just 6v6 in a map and an objective in a long time, like a very long time. I know Call of Duty still does it, but I'm talking about a third-person shooter. There's definitely a hole in the market for a solid, a game, a franchise with an existing IP like this that has its roots in the industry that a lot of people know about to make a shooter. For example, look at what's happening recently, the article that came out about Naughty Dog and them kind of like not halting, but I guess like slowing down production on the next iteration of the Last of Us multiplayer. So now we know Naughty Dog isn't even doing something like that. So something for, let's just say, PlayStation 5, right? That isn't a free-to-play battle royale, battle pass-driven game would do very well, in my opinion. For a lot of kids that have gotten into games recently whose first console were like the PS4, and now they've moved on to the PS5, and that's all they really know. They don't know about these games that we enjoyed back in the day. They don't know about stuff like Uncharted 2, and that every game back in the day had like an online multiplayer component too. Assassin's Creed had a multiplayer attached to it, Metal Gear had a multiplayer attached to it. That's such a foreign concept to a lot of, people that have gotten into gaming recently, not even younger kids, just people that weren't around in that era in like the early 2000s to mid 2000s, that's a foreign concept to them because there's like these games that are just basically have monopolies that everybody just plays, like Apex, stuff like that, where it's just like, yeah, you want to hop on games? Yeah, let's play some Apex. Boom, and that's what you play, You don't think of like, let's get on Uncharted 4 and play that multiplayer. Like, no one does that anymore. But I think for that reason, it's a good idea for Konami to kind of look into that. And if they want to monetize it, hey, go right ahead. Include it as a free-to-play addition to Delta. Just have it in the menu like you've had the other ones, in prior releases. And if you want to monetize cosmetics, if they want to monetize, if they want to add a battle pass and just add cosmetics, that's fine with me. They kind of did that sort of thing with like expansion packs. Back in the day, expansion packs were like the battle pass of nowadays. Like you'd have, so MGO released and you'd have like the meme expansion pack, and then you have like the scene expansion pack or something like that, or the gene expansion pack. And you'd pay like, I think it was around like $12, $15. It was a one-time payment, and then you get all the content, all the new cosmetics that were included in those expansion packs. So that's how it was handled back in the day. But I don't know. I'm just excited for a new MGO potentially. Again, this isn't a confirmation that it's Metal Gear Online and it's a competitive multiplayer game. This could be like co-op, which would be cool too. This could be like a leaderboard, something as simple as like a leaderboard. It's not any confirmation of MGO whatsoever, but that is where my mind kind of goes with this, and I'm sure a lot of people agree. They know that Save MGO and MGO2 private servers and community servers exist. They're not stupid. Konami isn't dumb. They wouldn't have survived this long as a corporation if they were dumb and didn't know what was going on. They absolutely know that exists. They absolutely know we're playing on that, and they absolutely know that there is a maybe it's on the smaller end, but very dedicated and loyal player base for just Metal Gear Online specifically. Obviously, Metal Gear, a lot, the fan base is huge. You have people from all walks of life and all different backgrounds and that speak different languages that have played these games and love these games and love this franchise. But I feel like MGO has always gotten like the short end of the stick, and a lot of that is on Konami. A lot of that is on them for not marketing it correctly. If they do come out with a new, MGO1 re-release or MGO4 or a new MGO in general, I do think they need to, if they want it to be successful, and they want to, they want us to play it for a long time and make content on it and all this different stuff, they do need to market it as such. They do need to market it much more than they did, prior releases. MGO1 had like one little trailer, and if you didn't buy Subsistence, you weren't playing it. MGO2 was tucked away at the bottom of the Metal Gear Solid 4 menu. And if you're just in it for the story, you play through MGS4 and then you put it on your shelf and you never think about it. But for a lot of us, we as for myself specifically, just speaking on my end, like I burned out a TV. I played MGO2 so much. Like you would turn off the TV, and the round and the ticket counter and all that at the top of your screen was burned into my screen. I played that game so much. Like I ruined a pretty new TV playing that game. I played it so much. It's probably one of the games that I have the most hours in across all my characters and accounts. I have well over like 6,000 hours easily. If there was some way to look through my account again, my main account and all my other accounts, if the servers were still up, I easily clocked in over 6,000 hours. It was insane how much I played that game. So this type of stuff makes me super happy. Again, it could be absolutely nothing. It could be some silly little multiplayer, Ape Escape type thing that they add onto it. But the fact that it says multiplayer and online functions is very exciting. I love MGO. I made a lot of lifelong friends that I still talk to that I've known since I was like 12 years old. I still talk to them and keep in contact with them. I met a lot of my good friends, my best friends, from recent years after MGO3 through MGO3. So to say that this silly little spin-off online component of this series that I love means a lot to me is an understatement. So just thought I'd update you guys again. Shout out to Lord Emmerich for kind of bringing my attention to this. And yeah, I'd like to say also that this isn't going to be a one-off thing. I think I mentioned earlier in the video that I was working on another video before making this one, covering, my reaction to Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, what I want to see from it, my expectations around when we can, kind of expect launch, like the speculation video, right? And I stopped making that. I stopped production on that to then pivot and make this video. And that should show you how much Metal Gear Online means to me. It's a game mode that I'm always going to love. And if Konami doesn't make it in an official capacity or bring it back in any official capacity, we have, like I said, a loyal fan base that has done that for one of my favorite games of all time. But having said that, I do want to see another Metal Gear Online. I think that would be very exciting. I think that would be, it's a perfect time for it. There's a hole in the market for it. There's a lot of new Metal Gear fans, a lot of young kids that are getting into Metal Gear now that never got to play any version of Metal Gear Online except maybe MGO3, which I enjoyed as well. But yeah, it's very exciting news. Like I said, I am working on some stuff on my end, Metal Gear related stuff, mostly videos. Like I said, expect that Metal Gear Solid Delta video not too much later after this one. And then I do have some other stuff, some bigger projects that I don't really want to announce just yet. They're pretty ambitious. I'm working with somebody else in the community on them. We're very early days, very early planning stages. So nothing official there yet. But it's something that I do want to have out before the Master Collection Volume 1 releases in autumn, right? Yeah, autumn. So, yeah. No announcements just yet, but I will update you guys on that project if it does pan out the way I see it panning out. But other than that, I do want to try and hold myself to at least one video a week. Some weeks are going to be busy for me, so I might skip a week, but I do want to try to make at least one Metal Gear related video a week. Whether that's, like I said, speculation videos like this one, covering any news articles or anything of substance that may release through articles like IGN, from the official Metal Gear social media accounts, stuff that I see people like Lord Emmerich post. I do want to make videos on that, even if they're short, like 5-minute, 10-minute videos. So yeah, look forward to that. When it comes to streaming, I don't know when I'm going to get back into that. I do want to get back into it. I just don't know how many days a week, what exactly I'd be streaming. But when there's an update regarding that, I will update you guys. And as always, you guys can follow me on Twitter. I have it down in the description, or I'll have it down in the description along with this article from IGN Japan and Lord Emmerich's Twitter if you want to give him a follow, which you absolutely should. And other than that, yeah, we'll see what comes out of this article. If there's any future announcements, if that means like, you know, later this year, next year, whatever it may be, I'll be here to react to it, hopefully. And yeah, hope you guys have been well. Thank you so much for the support over the years. I know I take very long hiatuses from making content or updating you guys in general, but I'm back on my my content creator, if you want to use that term, bag for the moment. So yeah, super excited about this news. We'll see what comes from it, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.